you were to ask me what my second favourite sport was after of course AFL, it would be a toss up between soccer, the beautiful game, or surprisingly, American football. Ever since I've been a young fella, I've always loved watching the NFL, whether it be watching my proud Saints go at it with Drew Brees, or playing the classic Madden games. It's truly a proud moment when you see Australians in the NFL taking place, representing our country in the great game of American football. But what makes it even more fantastic is that we are seeing former AFL players taking part in the National Football League and tearing it up. In this video today, we explore how former AFL stars have changed the ways of NFL punting. At the time of recording this video, there are currently 8 former AFL players who varied from playing semi-professional AFL to juniors and casual and even slightly professional AFL that are now in the NFL. Those 8 players, alongside 15 other players, share a special group of players who formerly played AFL and have transferred their skills from the leather footy to the pigskin. So in today's video we explore the rise and evolution of AFL players in the NFL. It's become a well-known topic now with AFL players in the NFL, with players like Michael Dickson having a breakout year and showing that Aussies can really play NFL. But not many people know that it's been quite a long time since the first AFL player has played in the NFL, and I mean a very long time ago. The year was 1955 and a young lad by the name of Colin Ridgway was playing in the under-19s Carlton side. Though he might not have played a professional AFL game, this video explores all types of AFL players who have played in the NFL, whether it be in the big leagues or the junior leagues. Ridgway was actually quite a talented sportsman and athlete. Alongside his AFL talents, he was a well-known high jumper and competed in the 1956 Olympic Games in Melbourne and also the 1958 Commonwealth Games. In high jump, he became the first ever athlete to clear 7 feet. His successes in high jump caught eyes from people in Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas, and he accepted a track and field scholarship there. Whilst at Lamar University, he was discovered by the Dallas Cowboys, who are a team from Texas in the NFL, and was actually signed as an undrafted free agent to their 1965 team. That signing made history, as he was not only the first AFL player to play in the NFL, but the first Australian. After successful NFL spells in the 1965 pre-season, he managed to stay in the Dallas Cowboys side, and he became a member of the practice squad. Then a few months later, he'd be promoted to the regular roster. From there, the NFL was truly witnessing an AFL player playing in the NFL, as he was a punter. For people who are quite unfamiliar with the NFL game, a punter is a position in NFL where their main job is to simply kick the ball away and try to place their kicks in great positions, as their role is to gain good field position and territory. So theoretically, this is why AFL players can transition their skills into NFL, as they are kicking a similar style ball and are able to utilise their drop punt and torpedo kicks, right? Well, for Colin Ridgway, the transition was tough. During his time at the club, it turned out that the running drop kicks that were commonly used at the time in Aussie rules did not translate well into the American game for him. He took 13 punts in NFL and it seemed to be almost everyone was terrible. Ironically, Coach Tom Landry, one of the most greatest NFL coaches of all time, had tipped him to be one of the league's top punters. Unfortunately, he was released by the team in the off-season that next year. And there would be the final AFL player to play in the NFL for 30 years. The next AFL player to feature in the NFL went by the name of Darren Bennett. He was the first AFL player of many to have a professional AFL career that transformed into an NFL player. He was selected 13th overall in the 1988 AFL draft and went on to play 102 AFL games for East Fremantle, West Coast and Melbourne. For all those 80s and 90s Demons fans out there, he might be a familiar face, as he managed to boot 208 goals in 74 games for the Demons. And of course, Darren Bennett was known for his big boot, as he was able to kick long goals and torpedo punts, obvious traits that can transfer well into an NFL punter. In 1993, injuries caught up with him, which forced him into retirement for Australian football. That same year, he got married and he went on his honeymoon to California. While he was over there, he saw the specialist kicking role was available on TV for the San Diego Chargers. After reportedly saying to himself, the role looked easy, he contacted the coaching staff of the San Diego Chargers and asked for a tryout. Because of Bennett's big boot, he was able to excel in the tryout. Because of the fact a gridiron oval was much smaller, only being 90 metres long compared to an AFL oval which is around 135 metres to 180 metres long. So he was almost able to kick the entire distance of a gridiron field with the wind behind him. The Chargers staff were quite impressed after the tryout, and he was placed on the team's practice squad for the 1994 season. His rookie year in the NFL was quite outstanding, as he managed to finish second in the NFL in punting averages. Before I continue I must elaborate on what the key stats are to become a good NFL punter. Punting stats in the NFL are divided into different categories. First, there's the amount of punts, then there are the total yards, the total average of each punt, the longest punt, and also touchbacks. Touchbacks are where punters kick the ball into the opposition side's end zone and the ball returns to the 20-yard line. However, the goal of an NFL punter isn't always just to kick touchbacks. There's also another stat called inside 20. This is where if a punter kicks the ball out of bounds in between the goal line and the 20-yard line, it is known as an inside 20-yard kick. This is where punters really earn their paycheck, and you usually see punting highlights where they manage to kick the ball high and just before it reaches the end zone, the ball manages to, let's say, bounce back and land at the 1-yard line. This being showed right now is what punters aim to do every kick. And as said earlier before, the role of an NFL punter is to kick the ball into good field position. So with all these stats shown on screen right now, probably the most important stat is the punting average. Another one of the punter's jobs is to kick the ball as far as possible. So what makes great punters separate from good punters is if they have a very good punting average. As said before, Darren Bennett finished second in the league in punting averages. And because of that high stat, he managed to make the AFC Pro Bowl team. The Pro Bowl is pretty much the All-Australian of the NFL. The best players of each NFL year are put into a special team. The years went by and Darren Bennett kept on getting better. He went on to establish himself as arguably the best punter in the NFL for the rest of the 1990s. Despite Bennett only playing in the NFL for only half of the 90s, he was amazingly named as the punter on the NFL All-Decades team for the 1990s. A truly remarkable accomplishment for a former AFL player. The 21st century rolled around then and Bennett was still on a roll. He made the Pro Bowl team in 2000 and continued to be one of the league's leading punters into the 21st century. Alongside his fantastic kicking ability for the San Diego Chargers, he was able to put his 196cm and 106kg body to good use, and he did not shy away from any physical contact. When any punter or kickoff returners came his way, he was not afraid to hit them right into the turf. 2004 rolled around, and after 144 games for the Chargers, he signed as a free agent with the Minnesota Vikings. After only playing one game in 2005 with the Minnesota Vikings, he suffered with a few minor injuries. He was then released from the Minnesota Vikings, and there was an illustrious 160 NFL game career from the all-time great of Darren Bennett, the first true AFL player to play in the NFL and play it well. Managing 2 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pro teams, which is also another very special Team of the Year award, an NFL 1990s All-Decade team, and was also inducted into the San Diego Chargers Hall of Fame. It's safe to say that Darren Bennett was truly the birth of AFL players in the NFL, as he is also credited for the introduction into the NFL of course, the Aussie rules drop punt. The drop punt that we use in our great game of AFL, it transitions very nicely into the NFL. Because of the kicking technique, punters are able to use it in the NFL very effectively, where if punters are in situations where they really need to guide their kick inside the 20-yard line, they're able to use that drop punt technique, as of course we all know, drop punts are far more accurate than torpedoes. So after Darren Bennett's final game in 2005, another Australian punter was heading into his second season with the Dallas Cowboys. He went by the name of 𝐬𝐿. He was born in Melbourne, and of course, if you're born in Melbourne, you're most likely going to play AFL, and that's what he sure did. He played semi-professional AFL for Brighton Grammar School and also Deakin University. After performing well in an NFL kicking competition at the good old Waverley Park, Darren Bennett was actually in Melbourne during his off-season, and he caught the eye of 𝐬𝐿, who performed very well. Bennett got in touch with 𝐬𝐿, and before he knew it, he earned a football scholarship with the University of Hawaii. While his time over there, he managed to break the college's record for the single game punting average record with 53.8 yards. After his 3-year run at college level for Hawaii, he turned out to be very productive, and he was able to declare for the 2003 NFL draft. He turned out to be undrafted, but that did not end his opportunity of playing NFL. A few weeks after the draft, he was signed as an undrafted free agent by the Denver Broncos. He was then traded to the Seattle Seahawks during training camp and spent a preseason game with them. He was then released at the end of preseason, but then, on Boxing Day 2003, he was signed by the Dallas Cowboys to their practice squad, and he became an excellent punter in the NFL. He got promoted to the starting punting role in the 2004 season, and the rest was history. In 2006 and 2010, he managed to make a Pro Bowl and second team All-Pro in both years. His league-leading 48.2 yards per punt average in the 2006 season managed to break the record for the first player to average over 48 yards per punt since 1963. Because of that successful 2006 season, he managed to go ka-ching in 2007 as he signed a 5-year $8.5 million contract that included a $2.5 million signing bonus. This made him the highest paid punter in the league at that time. So he would play for the Dallas Cowboys from 2003 to 2011 and truly was a fantastic punter during his time in Texas. He then had a few stints at the Eagles, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the San Diego Chargers for a year each, and then he'd call time on a fantastic NFL punting career. In the mid-2000s, there are a number of former AFL players who managed to make the NFL, but never played a full NFL down. The players were Nathan Chapman, Anthony Rocca, Jai Bond and David King. We won't go into too much detail about these players' careers in the NFL, so make sure to give it a research if interested. Obviously, the player out of that group that catches our eyes is of course Anthony Rocca, an absolute gun for Sydney and especially Collingwood. He was actually on the fence if he wanted to continue his AFL career or follow in his brother's footsteps and head to America to give punting a crack as well. He managed to sign with the Philadelphia Eagles, however he got homesick and returned to Australia to continue playing for Collingwood. So now we move on to two very successful players that had excellent AFL careers and they then transferred their skills into the NFL, and they go by the name of Ben Graham and Sav Rocca. Of course, Ben Graham was a fan favourite for the Geelong Football Club. He was picked up in 1993 by the side and he managed to play 219 games for the side, also kicking 145 goals. Ben Graham was well known across the league for one reason only: his big kicks. You could see him kick a beautiful 60-metre torpedo punt for goal, or he would sometimes take the kickouts and would be responsible for kicking absolute spirals to the centre square. During his prime in his AFL career in 1997, he was actually approached by the New York Jets. However, he decided to stay in the AFL as he wanted to finish off his AFL career. Then when he retired in 2004, he packed his bags and left to the US to pursue a career as a punter in the NFL. Ben Graham signed with the New York Jets at the start of 2005, as he also became the oldest rookie ever to be part of an NFL opening day roster at age 31. His debut season in 2005 impressed the Jets staff, and in May 2006, the Jets signed Graham to a 6-year contract worth $5.17 million. Similar to Darren Bennett, he was able to utilise his AFL drop punt skills, and was able to pooch the ball right inside the 20-yard line when kicking. Right before the season opener in 2008, the Jets decided to release Ben Graham as they had better options. He then had a quick stint with the New Orleans Saints in 2008. He was only there to play one game as their starting punter was unable to travel to the game. But then in early December 2008, Ben Graham was about to get the opportunity of a lifetime as he was approached by the Arizona Cardinals. What was so special about the Arizona Cardinals that season in 2008 is they managed to make NFL's greatest prize. Yes, that's right, they made the NFL Super Bowl. Because of this, Ben Graham became the first ever Australian to play in an NFL Super Bowl. It was also the Arizona Cardinals' first ever Super Bowl appearance, so there was a lot of firsts on that day. Unfortunately, the Cardinals would go down against the Steelers 27-23, but you still have to admit that win or loss, a former AFL player playing in the Super Bowl is still a very special accomplishment. Graham would then go on to have a quick stint at the Lions in late 2011. He was then released with an injury later that season. Then we have 𝐓𝐴 Rocca. Of course we all know 𝐶𝐴 Rocca had such a fantastic AFL career, being in the system for 15 seasons, playing over 100 games with Collingwood and North Melbourne, and kicking 748 goals in total. Similar to Ben Graham, 𝐶𝐴 Rocca also had a massive boot, so an NFL career for him was a possibility. In 2007, the Philadelphia Eagles were looking for a punter to compete with their current starter, and they managed to sign 𝐶𝐴 Rocca. 𝐶𝐴 Rocca managed to have an impressive pre-season, that he had several punts over 50 yards. On the final day of cuts during training camp, Rocca learnt that he had won the job. During the 2007 season, as a rookie, he broke Ben Graham's record as the oldest rookie in NFL history, now at 33 years old. He would go on to have a somewhat average 3 more seasons for the Philadelphia Eagles. Then in 2011, 𝐶𝐴 Rocca was signed by the Washington Redskins. He would then make a solid impact for 3 seasons for the Washington Redskins, and then he was released in early 2014. When looking back at 𝐶𝐴 Rocca's NFL career, he was quite similar to Darren Bennett, as he could also make a few nice tackles.
University of Miami, here is Roscoe Parrish. He's got the kicker to beat, and Rocca makes the stop. Nice tackle by the former Australian rules player from down under.
In 2007, an organisation by the name of ProKick Australia was invented. Why this organisation is so special is it's because it has helped guide and transition Australian athletes, which are mainly AFL players, to perform at not only NFL level but also college level, which is able to then transfer into NFL. ProKick Australia takes AFL athletes or semi-professional AFL athletes, train them and educate them on how to kick an NFL ball properly with also NFL equipment on, such as shoulder pads, and from there the best of the bunch can earn scholarships to colleges all across America. So far, ProKick Australia has managed to give out 75 athletes a scholarship or contracts in the USA. ProKick Australia is set up with multiple camps all across the country, with coaches from different cities. And fun fact, one of the main coaches of ProKick Australia is Nathan Chapman, the NFL punter who we mentioned earlier in this video. After he was released by the Green Bay Packers back in 2004, he decided to become one of the founders of ProKick Australia. ProKick Australia isn't just necessarily transferring AFL players only into the NFL, it also helps developing the skills required for other competitions such as NCAA and also Canadian Football League. So the reason why I've included this organisation of ProKick Australia into this video is it's because it's such an important figure for AFL players heading into the NFL. Ever since it was invented since 2007, I'll put a list on screen now. These are all the players that were former AFL players or semi-professional AFL players, got picked up through ProKick Australia, learnt how to kick properly, and then went on to make a college in the US. Some of the graduates from ProKick Australia managed to win the most exclusive and best award a punter could receive in college football, the 𝗼𝐻𝐿 Award. The 𝗼𝐻𝐿 Award is simply awarded to the best college punter in the US, with Tom Hackett winning it twice, and also Tom Hornsey. Another ProKick Australia graduate to win the 𝗼𝐻𝐿 Award is of course Michael Dickson, who is arguably the most popular one out of the bunch. Michael Dickson had been playing AFL since the age of 9, and he had excelled whilst playing for the University of New South Wales. As a teenager, he was picked up by the Sydney Swans Academy. Unfortunately, he couldn't break through the 2014 draft, but was a solid player in the NAFL side. He was managed to be selected in the 2014 NAFL Grand Final for the Swans. Unfortunately, they were defeated by 2 points in the Grand Final. During his time in the Swans reserves, he was well known for his big kicking, and in 2015, at the age of 19, he moved to Melbourne to trial with ProKick Australia. And he was impressive. With his successful ProKick Australia performances, he was picked up by the University of Texas, arguably one of the biggest colleges in America. To put it into context, the average attendance of each Texas Longhorns football game is around 100 to 110,000, which is bigger than the capacity of the MCG. So there was Michael Dickson, punting for the Texas Longhorns for 3 years, and throughout his successive 3 years, he managed to pick up a 𝗼𝐻𝐿 Award, as just said earlier. His successes in college football made him eligible for the 2018 draft, and in the 5th round, 149th overall, the Seattle Seahawks used their 5th round pick to take Michael Dickson. There were truly big shoes to fill for Michael Dickson when he headed into Seattle, as he was replacing veteran punter John Ryan, who had been with the team for almost a decade. He'd make his NFL debut in the season opener against the Denver Broncos, and he truly became a well-known punter in his Week 8 performance against the Detroit Lions, where he picked up an NFC Special Teams Player of the Week award. With minutes remaining on 4th down at the own 3-yard line, Dickson was instructed to waste time in the end zone before giving up an intentional safety. Instead, when he received the snap, he managed to see a pocket of open space and he decided to tuck it and run for the first down, and ran it 9 yards for the first down to seal the win. That moment then and there, he truly became a cult hero for the side, and Dickson that month was also named the NFC Special Teams Player of the Month. Alongside his punting game, Dickson decided to use a few unorthodox moves. For a few kickoffs, instead of kicking the ball off the tee, he decided to drop kick it. So his debut season in 2018 turned out to be a heck of a year. He punted 80 times for 3,759 yards, averaging 48.2 yards per punt, the second highest in the league. Those impressive stats earned him a rookie Pro Bowl appearance, and also a first team All-Pro. As a rookie, is quite unbelievable. As Dickson kept on chipping away for the Seahawks, another memorable moment came up on the 7th of October 2021 in the Week 5 game against division rivals the Los Angeles Rams. Dickson would perform as what is known a double punt for 69 yards. This is simply where his first punt was blocked, he is able to recover the ball with a one-handed AFL style pickup, might I say, and punt the ball again, known as a double punt. The great thing about that double punt is the punt was very good, and managed to keep on rolling forward after the first bounce and gain really good field position. So even though Michael Dickson might be the most well-known and superior Australian punter, there's still another handful of AFL players who are currently in the NFL. Mitch Wishnowsky, Cameron Johnston, Aaron Sipos, Jordan Berry, Locke Edwards are all examples who are on a current roster. And all of them have one thing in common. They are former AFL players, and they got their way into college and then into the AFL through ProKick Australia. So it's truly an organisation that has helped many Australians get a scholarship into college then into the NFL. It's truly the modern pathway from AFL into NFL. Another huge aspect with AFL players playing in the NFL is simply the influence. Because of the Australian drop punt techniques that have carried over into the NFL, it's set up as an influence for not only just Australian punters, but punters all across the NFL to perform those drop punt style of kicks. So therefore, it's truly amazing to see ProKick Australia and former AFL players paving the way for modern punting in the NFL. From Darren Bennett to Michael Dickson, former AFL players transitioning into NFL punters is truly the gift that keeps on giving.